My friends, what is going on? Welcome back to the channel. Hope you are doing well. You enjoyed your Labor Day. I said on Twitter, if we got a bunch of likes, I would post a video with the trade idea on Tesla. Tesla is my number one look for me personally for a potential topside move this week. So I wanted to jump in here. It's going to be too much just to post on Twitter to make sure that you had full context of the trade idea of what I'm going to be looking for. If this video is helpful to you, please like and subscribe. Tell your buddies about it, all that good stuff. Follow me on Twitter, Colin_Gladman. Having said that, let's jump into the video. I appreciate your time. I will keep this as short as possible. So starting out, a little bit of a macro look for Tesla. What I've been watching is since July of 2023, we've been just basically in a constant downtrend. Then we had the massive false breakout leading into this most recent earnings. Now we've kind of come back in. Now we're kind of pushing up and we're going to be testing that downtrend again. Like I said, overall, I like the look of Tesla here. One reason is going to be this came back down. So this initial move that started to push out, that was the false breakout, came back down here into the discount zone. This discount zone comes from, we had basically 2 months of sideways consolidation leading in from the April all the way up to June before you got the big breakout. Then from, you use your Fibonacci retrace, came back down here into that discount zone. That discount zone is basically going to be anything below the 0.5 down into that 786. That's where you look for institutional big money, the people who move the stock, not you and me and keyboard warriors on Twitter. But this is where you wanted to see institutional money start to load up on Tesla again. And I think that there were clear signs of that. Also, another big thing that I wanted to see was I wanted to see support on the 200-day moving average. That's going to be this big red line through here. Tesla came down this last week and then tested it and then hammered up off of it. So overall, now let's get into a little bit more micro look. So we had this massive run from Tesla in the summer, which if you are already following me on Twitter, you know that we were in calls throughout this run. Then we consolidated into that earnings trade. I thought about taking some calls before earnings, but this massive dark cloud cover on increased volume before scared me away. And since then, Tesla's basically kind of gone through an ABC correction to the downside. So now what I'm looking for, which I also posted on Twitter roughly about a week ago, was kind of this inverse head and shoulder look. So overall, I think that looks relatively strong, is a great opportunity to play out. So I am looking to go long on Tesla at this point in time. One thing that I really like, as I already stated, was the fact that it came down and it touched that 200-day moving average and then it found support. And that was also at our 0.5, at our discount level, where we would want to see support come in. Then on Friday, you have an overall nice day of 4% up. Now, let's also talk about the bad. The bad is the fact that we are going to be pushing up and retesting that falling resistance, which you can see is provided. So once it shot through here, then you had the big earnings. Tesla tried to retest, then you got sold off again, then you tried to retest, then you got sold off again. But overall, I do like the volume on this move. So Tesla really pushed up on strong volume. And then, of course, you have this day here that was the strong sell-off day. But remember, that is also when the robotaxi event was delayed. So there was news that came along with it. And then that's when they decided, because I think this move would have continued had robotaxi not been delayed. Because it got delayed, then it gave institutions the opportunity to unload up here. Retail was still chasing because of the breakout. They marked it back down. Now, if anything, retail jumped out of this move and institutions got in. So I am overall expecting, so today is September the 2nd. The robotaxi event is October 10th. Overall, I am looking for a overall topside move on Tesla going forward. This also too here has a little bit of kind of that bull flag breakout look to it. So that's what I'm going to be watching for. Now, I think this move overall, very conservatively, can move back up to about 253. That is going to be certainly my target, but I think there's going to be some hiccups along the way, so I want to talk about that, and then I'll tell you the contracts that I'm going to be eyeing, and then we will call it a day. So the first big line of resistance is going to be that falling resistance line back up here around 220. You look good above 220. I think we're going to be pushing up here towards 232 relatively quickly. Now I'm even going to go lower time frame down here to an hourly basis. Let me go ahead and take volume off so that way I'm not. So here's that bull flag look. So we've got to move up here to about 220. You'll probably see some resistance, especially with this little gap down that occurred right here. Most people, you'll see them say things like, oh, there's nothing but air right here. And while that is true, this was also an area where bears stepped in and defended this 220 really strongly. I also had puts right here on Tesla. And when you first reapproach that area, you're probably going to get some resistance off of it. But overall, I think the most likely path is to push up there and retest it. Now, clearly you can see here on the hourly, even at 215, that's going to be some resistance right there. However, Tesla just reported that they had like their biggest sales in China, I think maybe ever. Double check me on that, but it was a great quarter over in China. So overall, I wouldn't even be surprised if Tesla gaps up. If Tesla gaps up above that 215 level, I would maybe watch for a little bit of a retest, show 215 as support, and then I don't think there's any question you're going to be challenging 220 to even 225 or higher. So this supply box that I have drawn up here in the 232 to kind of 235 range, so let's just say that sort of 3-point range, it's also the 0.618 extension of this move. I wouldn't be surprised at all. In fact, I would expect Tesla to get rejected there relatively hard. So overall, the path that I would be looking for on this move is a push up towards that 232, then I think you're going to get a pretty strong rejection back down here to around that 220 area before then finding support that's going to take you up to the 253 ballpark. And then if we use that and we kind of zoom out here, you'll notice that would also be coming back and retesting our, once again, from July of 2023, so a year-long plus resistance line, that's going to be retesting that, and then I think you'll get that propelled move on up to 253. My outside target for this move would be all the way up to the 1.618, heading towards 300. However, me personally, I always tell my team when you're looking at contracts, of course, look at the Greeks and look at the liquidity of it, open interest, things of that nature. But I always like to give myself a little bit of safety net built in. So I'm going to be looking at half the strike and twice the time. So I think there's a good chance Tesla could push towards 300. And I think it could do that by the end of September, beginning of October. But me personally, I'm going to be looking at the October 18th 250 contracts. They're currently about 560. And to be super clear, I have zero position right now. Okay. So I'm going to be looking at entering into those contracts. October 18th. At the 250 strike price, like I said, currently about 560. At the end of the day, if you want to jump in, cool, manage your risk, do what's best for you, yourself, your family, and your portfolio. I don't think it's a bad idea at all. If you do get in those would obviously be very green if we do push up here towards 233. If you get out there, so my plan is potentially taking a whole lot of profit along the way, then honestly even playing puts to the downside here for the retest, and then jumping back into calls at that point in time. That's overall what I'm going to be looking for. So I hope this video was helpful to you. I would say where this look starts to invalidate is if you start to lose that 200-day moving average. So the overall market does need to stay strong in this move. I personally, which if you stop me if you haven't heard this before, I posted on Twitter, I was looking for an initial move back down here to around 197. I really would have liked that. I'm a big believer in the move that's most likely is the one that screws the most people. So if you have this type of breakout move, if we start to sell off tomorrow, don't be surprised at all if we take out that key psychological number of right around 200, come back down here into the discount zone, into that 198, 197. I absolutely would be taking an opportunity to go long on Tesla here, not only from this consolidation, but if we zoom out more, going back to it, you can see that would be a huge key area of all these tops from back over in here. So any opportunity to buy Tesla back in here, I absolutely am going to do it. If the market overall is really weak, then I think worst case scenario for Tesla is going to be a move back here towards falling resistance around that 170 ballpark before then continuing right out. That is not my most likely or most anticipated move right now, but I always prepare for the worst, and that would also be getting back down here once again into that discount zone on a very macro level. We already kind of touched that area once with everything that happened back on August 5th with like the carry trade fears. You've also got on Tesla the 50-day moving average. Look at that. It's going to be chilling right there at that top side resistance. But if you look strong through there at that top side resistance of the 220 and the 50-day, and I honestly think that you could easily set up a nice little bear trap right up in there. So if we open, you start approaching that really quickly, probably get some intraday kickoff, but then a relatively quick move back up here to the 233 and trap people that are obviously going to try to be going short right in there. If I don't, like if Tesla gaps up, the entire market gaps up, and it does gap up here into that 220, then I absolutely would not take a position at that point in time. I would wait for some type of pullback towards that 215. It would be nice if you get a little, 15, 20 minute sell-off in the market open. So if we gap up, I typically look for those initial sell-offs, those automatic reactions of sell-offs after gap ups, and then vice versa. If gap downs happen, you look for, that potential quick push up. So I would love, if Tesla does gap up and it gaps up into here, I would love a pushback towards 215 and then continue on with the plan at that point in time. Don't ever chase big gap ups or big gap downs. IV is going to be spiking at that point in time. Are there going to be days where something gaps up and just starts running away from you? Absolutely. But are there also going to be days that something gaps down and just sells off dramatically? Absolutely on that too. But you will be better served in the long run if you are smart. Wait for your entry. Don't feel the FOMO. Don't be like, oh, Tesla's gapping up. I wanted it at 215 and now I gotta get in it, 219 before it runs all the way up to 250. That's how you get trapped. That's how you become other people's exit liquidity. Be smarter. Okay. Last but not least, little nugget of the day is overall, this is going to be what I'm going to be looking for on Nvidia as far as big money is showing you that it sold off after earnings. So I'm going to be looking for a corrective move very similar to Tesla before looking to potentially go long on that. But I hope this video was helpful to you. Please like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Much love. Happy hunting. Trade your plan. And at the end of the day, do what's best for yourself, your family, and your portfolio. Much love. I'll see you guys in the next video.